The harmattan wind blew dry and dusty air across our small town in Nigeria, coating everything with a thin, reddish film. Christmas was just around the corner, and while everyone seemed excited about the upcoming celebrations, I felt an unusual heaviness in my chest. Christmas had always been a bittersweet time for me. My father had passed away 5 years ago, and ever since, our family gatherings had felt incomplete. My mother, my 2 older sisters, and their husbands tried to keep the festive spirit alive, but every year, I noticed how the dynamics shifted, slowly but surely. This year was different, though. My sisters, Miriam and Chioma, had both been blessed, or cursed, depending on how you saw it, with large families. Between them, they had 5 hyperactive children under the age of 8. I loved my nieces and nephews, but I wasn't naive. Watching over them was like trying to control a small army of wild monkeys. I had just graduated from university and recently started working as a teacher. For once, I'd been looking forward to spending the holiday resting, maybe even going on a short trip with my friends. But I should have known my family had other plans. It all started 3 days before Christmas. I was at my mother's house, helping her clean and prepare for the big day. After mopping the living room, I decided to take a break and grab some water. As I walked past the dining area, I heard voices, my mother's low and warm, Miriam's slightly bossy, and Chioma's soft but firm. Something in their tone made me pause. They weren't just chatting about food or decorations. Their voices were hushed, almost conspiratorial. I crouched by the doorway, heart pounding, and listened. Honestly, I think it's perfect, Miriam was saying. Adanna will be here anyway, and she doesn't have kids or a husband. She's free. Chioma giggled. Free and available, you mean? 5 kids is a lot, but she's good with them. She's a teacher, after all. It just makes sense. My mother sighed. Are you sure she won't mind? She's been working so hard this year. Maybe she wants to rest. Miriam scoffed. Rest? Mama, please. She's young and single. What else does she have to do? Besides, it's only fair. She hasn't contributed much financially to this year's Christmas preparations. Watching the kids is her way of helping. My stomach dropped. I pressed my hand against my mouth, shocked. They were planning to dump 5 children on me for the entire Christmas celebration so they could enjoy themselves without worry. Chioma's voice chimed in again. Exactly. And we'll finally get to have a proper adult Christmas without constantly chasing kids around. Plus, Adanna loves those children. She won't complain. My mother murmured something I couldn't quite hear, and then they all started laughing. That laughter burned into me like fire. I slowly backed away, careful not to make a sound, and slipped into the corridor. My hands were trembling, my throat dry. For the rest of the day, I went about my chores silently, my mind spinning. They hadn't even bothered to ask me. They just assumed I would drop everything, cancel any plans I had, and babysit 5 rowdy kids while they ate, danced, and laughed together. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. All my life, I had been the dependable one. When my sisters got married, I was the maid of honor who handled all the chaos. When they gave birth, I was the auntie who stayed up all night helping with feedings and diaper changes. And now, during the one holiday I wanted for myself, they were going to use me. But instead of confronting them right away, I decided to play along. A plan began to form in my mind, one that would teach them a lesson they wouldn't forget. On Christmas Eve, my sisters and their families arrived at Mama's house. The house was filled with the delicious aroma of jollof rice, grilled chicken, and puff-puff. Echoed through the walls as children darted around like little whirlwinds. Adanna! Come and help me set the table, Miriam called, already barking orders like a general. I smiled sweetly. Of course, big sis. Inside, my heart was cold. I carefully observed how my sisters behaved. They didn't even attempt to watch their kids. They were too busy gossiping, scrolling through their phones, and discussing their plans for the Christmas party they'd be attending that night. Meanwhile, their children were wreaking havoc, spilling juice, fighting over toys, screaming at the top of their lungs. Mama kept shaking her head, muttering under her breath, but she didn't intervene either. She was too tired to argue with anyone. By evening, the moment of truth arrived. "Adanna," Chioma said, her voice overly sweet. "We're heading to the party now. You'll watch the kids, right?" I tilted my head innocently. "Oh, sure. Don't worry about a thing." Miriam beamed. "Knew we could count on you, little sis." As they hugged me and rushed out the door, I felt a rush of satisfaction. They thought they'd outsmarted me. They had no idea what was coming. The house was quiet for about 10 minutes after they left. Then chaos erupted. 2-year-old F started crying because someone took his toy. 7-year-old Zara began jumping on the couch, nearly knocking over a glass vase. The twins, Kachi and Kamsi, were chasing each other with sticky, chocolate-covered hands. And baby Samto wailed endlessly in his crib. I stood there, watching them, a strange calm washing over me. This was the burden my sisters had expected me to bear all night while they enjoyed themselves. Instead, I gathered the kids, handed them snacks, and put on a cartoon movie. Once they were settled, even if only temporarily, I sent a carefully worded message to our family group chat. "Hi everyone. Just wanted to let you know that I won't be babysitting tonight. Heading out for a surprise trip. The kids are all yours. Have fun." Then, with deliberate slowness, I packed a small bag, slipped out the back door, and walked down the street to my friend Ifeoma's house. Ifeoma was surprised to see me but welcomed me warmly. She poured me a drink and laughed until tears ran down her face when I explained my plan. "Girl, you're wicked," she said between giggles. "But they deserve it." I smirked. "Exactly. Maybe now they'll realize I'm not their personal nanny." Back at Mama's house, I imagined the scene unfolding. My sisters would return from the party, drunk on palm wine and merriment, expecting a peaceful home and sleeping children. Instead, they would find 5 hyperactive kids running wild and no one in sight to control them. Mama would be furious. The kids would be screaming. And my sisters, they'd finally understand how much work they'd dumped on me without a second thought. As I sipped my drink at Ifeoma's place, I felt a strange mixture of guilt and triumph. Was I wrong to do this? Maybe. But hadn't they been wrong first? I didn't know how it would end, but one thing was certain, this Christmas would not go as they planned. By the time midnight approached, my phone began to buzz with frantic calls and messages. "Adanna! Where are you? This isn't funny. Come home now. Mama is angry. The kids are out of control." I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I turned off my phone, lay back on the couch, and closed my eyes. For the first time in years, I felt truly free. But deep down, I knew there would be consequences. And when morning came, I would have to face them. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing relentlessly. When I finally turned it on, a flood of missed calls and angry messages appeared. My sisters were furious. Mama had sent several voice notes, each more frantic than the last. "Adanna! Where are you? You left those poor children alone with me, and they didn't sleep until 3 a.m. You must come home immediately. This is not a joke, Adanna." Miriam had texted. "Do you have any idea what we've been through?" I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. For a brief moment, guilt pricked at me like tiny needles. But then I remembered their laughter as they plotted behind my back, assuming my life and time didn't matter. I took a deep breath and typed a calm response. "Good morning, everyone." I didn't leave the kids alone, I made sure they were settled before I left. I needed space to enjoy Christmas too. "We need to talk when I return." Then, I turned the phone face down and sipped my tea slowly. By noon, I was back at Mama's house. The moment I stepped inside, the tension hit me like a physical force. The living room was a disaster zone, crumbled cookies on the rug, half-empty cups scattered everywhere, and a faint smell of burnt food lingering in the air. Mama sat in her chair, looking utterly exhausted, while the kids ran around screaming. Miriam and Chioma stood near the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, glaring at me like two storm clouds ready to strike. Well, Miriam snapped, look who finally decided to show up. I kept my voice calm. Good afternoon. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas? Chioma's voice was sharp. Do you think this is a joke, Adanna? You left us to deal with 5 kids after a party. Do you know how hard that was? I raised an eyebrow. Oh, you mean the same way you expected me to deal with 5 kids alone while you went out to enjoy yourselves? They fell silent, their anger faltering for a moment. Mama sighed deeply. Adanna, what you did was wrong. But I also understand why you felt hurt. Tell us what's going on. I turned to face them fully, my hands trembling slightly but my voice steady. You didn't even ask me, I said. You just decided I would be the babysitter, as if my plans didn't matter. I've spent years helping you both raise these kids, sacrificing my time and energy, and you've never once stopped to consider how I feel. Chioma's face softened slightly. Miriam shifted uncomfortably. I continued, I love my nieces and nephews, but I'm not their parent. This was supposed to be a holiday for all of us, not just you. When I overheard you plotting, it hurt. So yes, I left, to show you what it feels like when someone you depend on isn't there. The room fell silent except for the distant sound of a child crying. Mama spoke quietly. Miriam, Chioma, she's right. You both take Adanna for granted. She deserves respect and a chance to enjoy life too. For the first time, my sisters looked genuinely remorseful. Miriam swallowed hard. Adanna, we're sorry. We should have talked to you instead of assuming. Chioma nodded, tears welling in her eyes. We didn't realize how much we've been leaning on you. It wasn't fair. I exhaled slowly, relief mixing with lingering hurt. I'm not saying I won't ever help, I said softly. But next time, you need to ask, not demand. We're family. Respect has to go both ways. Mama smiled faintly, the tension easing just a little. But deep inside, I knew the conversation wasn't over. Christmas wasn't just about gifts and laughter, it was about honesty. And today, our family had unwrapped some uncomfortable truths. The rest of Christmas Day passed in a quiet, uneasy truce. My sisters and I spoke politely, but underneath the words, tension simmered. The children, blissfully unaware of the conflict, played noisily in the background while Mama moved between us, trying to restore peace. By evening, we sat down for Christmas dinner. The table was beautifully set with roasted chicken, spicy jollof rice, fried plantains, and steaming pots of soup. The sight should have brought comfort, but I felt a knot in my chest. As we ate, Mama cleared her throat. Before we dig in, I want us to talk, she said gently. This family has been through a lot. Christmas is supposed to unite us, not divide us. My sisters lowered their eyes, shame flickering across their faces. Miriam spoke first. Adanna. I want to apologize again. I was selfish. I assumed you'd always be there to help because you've never said no before. But I see now that I was wrong. Chioma reached across the table, her eyes teary. Me too. I didn't mean to treat you like a servant. I get overwhelmed sometimes, and I guess I leaned on you too much. Their voices were sincere, and slowly, the anger inside me began to dissolve. I forgive you both, I said softly. But I also need you to understand that I have my own life. My dreams, my plans. I can't keep putting them aside for everyone else. They nodded, truly listening this time. After dinner, we cleared the table together. For once, my sisters took charge of their own children, changing diapers, breaking up squabbles, and putting them to bed without expecting my help. It was strange but liberating. As I watched, I realized something important. Part of the reason they'd taken advantage of me was because I'd allowed it. I'd never set boundaries, never spoken up for myself. But now, that was changing. Later that night, Miriam pulled me aside. "Adanna, I've been thinking," she said, her tone hesitant. "You've always been so good with the kids. You deserve a break and some appreciation." She handed me a small envelope. Inside was money. "It's not much," she continued, "but we wanted to thank you for everything you've done over the years. And, next weekend, we'll watch the kids so you can go do something fun. Just for yourself." Tears stung my eyes. "Thank you, Miriam. That means a lot." Chioma hugged me tightly. "We'll do better, I promise." As the night wound down, Mama gathered us in the living room. The soft glow of the Christmas tree lights bathed the room in warmth. "Families aren't perfect," she said, her voice steady but emotional. "We hurt each other sometimes, often without meaning to. But love isn't just about saying sorry, it's about changing how we treat one another." Her words sank deep into me. Looking at my sisters, I saw not just the women who had wronged me, but the women I'd grown up with, the ones who'd protected me, laughed with me, and shared every stage of life. And I knew that while this Christmas had been messy, it had also been necessary. As I lay in bed that night, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from Miriam in the family group chat. "Next year, we plan Christmas together. No assumptions. No secrets. Deal?" I smiled and typed back. "Deal." Sometimes, the people we love the most can hurt us the deepest, not out of malice, but out of habit and unspoken expectations. This Christmas taught me a valuable lesson: setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's an act of love. Because when we teach others how to treat us, we give them the chance to truly see us, not just as someone who's always there, but as someone who matters too. And that, I realized, is the greatest gift a family can give.